continuing on our theme for today, designers and developers working together, cats and dogs. Today we are digging into the Figma Kits, and I have a wonderful guest with me here today. Tianko is going to talk us through what Figma Kits are, how we made them, how you can use them, really everything you could possibly need to know. It's going to be a lot of information and really good. So why don't you give us a quick introduction, Tianko?
Thank you, Kathryn. Thank you for having me today. So the point that we are going to talk about today, you just highlight. And a few words about me. And my name is Tianko, and I'm a manager user experience in Progress DevTools division. Well, my education comes from the design field, of course, mainly graphic design, and after that I specified industrial design, which honestly helped me a lot in this particular job. So I've been working for the company for about 11 years now, and I also been part of many teams and participate in development of many of the products that are today in the Progress Telerik portfolio.
Neat. That had to be really helpful to get to like jump around and be on all of those other teams before taking on something like these Figma Kits.
Yeah.
So I think you've got some slides for us, right?
Yeah, I prepared a few slides for the audience to be able to visually explain better why we are doing that. What is design system and why we choose Figma, of course, and after that I'll go to the demo, and I will try to show you how to use our design assets, because sometimes it's not quite easy, but after all, when you're used to it, it will be fine.
For those who might not be familiar at all, can you talk us through, like, at a completely beginner level, what is a Figma kit? What do you do with it?
Let me try first to say some words about the design story that we are making here at Progress. And the Figma Kits are foundation of this story, but actually, this was my slide. So I'm sure you see the right screen right now.
There we go. I think I didn't have them up earlier, but they should be there now. So go ahead. That was my bad.
So actually, why we are creating UI Kits is in the first place, or why we are developing products such as Unite UX that we will be able to enjoy the next Monday, I believe, with Radoslav. So we started the product discovery with the design to development handoff program, right? So we have identified areas where we have opportunities to add value to our core products and also to expand to uncovered audience. Let me show you some data that we collect from our customers. And as we can see, the majority of the roles are developers and designers. So this is the one of the things that we consider when we start creating such an effort. Another example is that, as we can see, again, the first three groups are actually eligible prospects for us today to start creating this huge, as you can see so later, this huge Figma effort.
Yeah, so that first row, just because it's a little bit small, says those are people that have a design system already in use, right? And then underneath, people that are still in the process of building.
Yeah. And the third and
and then people don't want
big
one, right? But that's a pretty huge percentage of people who already have one or are maintaining one.
Yes, but having a design system, like a design language, brand identity is not enough to have finally good web applications or WPA application. So in Kendo, we have an advantage with this, that we have currently live components already coded, you know very well, and plus the design assets. We have the most of the necessary things to have a great design system. So this slide is very interesting. Also, a survey on Kendo React page. And as we can see, 97% of the roles are part of design process. This is very important also to know that when you just have to start such an effort. And of course, Figma is the most used design tool, and I will talk about in a few minutes with a great explanation and research that I found on some websites. So Figma is our really, I would say, treasure, because personally to me, or for every,
yeah, it's so good. We were actually just talking about that on the last stream. Someone had asked which we preferred between Figma or Adobe XD, and like both me and Meta were
like as many of the designers on this planet, such as me, as we doing this job for many of the for more than 20 years now. So we grew up with Adobe programs, right? So Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Premiere, and so on. And when the Adobe start Project Comet, which was the code name for the XD, we were so excited. I was so happy when I participate in Adobe Max in Los Angeles or in San Diego, I believe, that they announced they are going out of public beta, and we were so excited. But after a year usage as a team, not like in individual contributor, but as a team, we start hitting some problems, and we finally found Figma.
It's been so interesting to watch that like rise and fall of Adobe, because like you said, I mean, and even I haven't been in the game quite as long, but it's been well over a decade for me. And very much when I was starting out, it was Adobe all the way. The Creative Suite was just everything, and I couldn't even imagine designing with other tools. And now I almost can't imagine designing with Adobe again.
I'm in the quite same situation, and my colleagues often joke me that what's happened, Janko? You were the greatest Adobe fan, and
things changed.
Chat agrees. Things changed. The world's changed, and some companies like Figma are trying to, or be able to fast find the right I don't know the right market, or the right
okay, all I just say makes
go
total
ahead.
Sense to focus on Figma.
And that's lead me to the most important question: why we are doing this, why we are creating these UI kits, and what are the needs for these efforts that I mentioned. Because I assure you that this is a lot of effort we put in the team to build and to maintain 3 separate files and so on. So but for that, I'd like to go back 4 years to the dawn of the graphical user interface. When the Xerox invited, but after that, Apple is developing and making it available to people through these Macintosh computers. So we call the phase 1. It was simply visual. Yes, this is the transition from command line user interface to a graphical one, and it was giant leap forward. It was so exciting to just build an app with the GUI, and there were no need to think much about the visual design. Yes, the default gray square looks was multiple orders of magnitude better than anything existing in the world of console apps, and nobody even thought about styling them beyond the default, right?
Right, but it made using a computer so much more accessible for people that weren't.
Yes, yes.
You didn't feel like you had to be a programmer or a developer to use a PC. It was huge.
Yeah, I personally remember when I was I don't know 12 or 13 or 15. So we've got a personal computer at home with the DOS, and everything was CD slash whatever
Yeah.
you want to do the computer. And when I saw first Macintosh or first Windows 3.1, it was huge step forward.
Absolutely.
Well, and as the time passed, a lot of apps had been built from small to big and from simple to complex. And with that, all the critical mass of applications and users started to seek more, which leads to the next phase. As you can see in this website
Look
of
at
Progress
that
Company.
the vintage
Yeah,
Progress logo.
I just copied from 2010.
Nice.
Yeah, and the phase two actually brings standardization and visual appealing. That's quite big milestone actually. The apps had got more and more complex and business critical. Well, the internet in that time occupied the central piece of our central place of our life, and they accelerated the progress tremendously. And it, at that point, just being visual was not enough, and the bar for acceptable application experience had risen higher than even before. And now here we go to the next phase, and that we are currently living it, the phase three that we call it, and it was unique and visual distinctive. And today, to be unique and visual distinctive is getting more and more apparent that it's not enough to just have a beautiful UI that is usable and intuitive. But the spread of technology got us to state where pretty much every company is turning to a software company, right? Even the local barber shop on the corner.
This one's so interesting to me because this is always something that I feel like I'm hearing feedback from developers that they're kind of struggling with, right? That a lot of people got kind of comfortable in that era with like Bootstrap or Material or like flat design. And then we kind of started getting this feedback, like everything looks the same. Every website I go to looks identical. How do I set myself
exactly
apart?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's mean that the distinctiveness and uniqueness of the look and feel with a personal touch becomes a key factor of differentiation, right?
Yeah.
It becomes a critical vector of competition. So this is a screenshot of our website of the company today, and it was quite different from 10 years ago.
Yes. To say the least.
Yeah, or this
or
one,
way back then.
Finder one on the system one level. So, I think that the customer expectation for the user experience are beyond the standard and the consistency across all companies, app and different form factors. And just like that, this naturally. I think this naturally involves visual and UX designers in the development process more and more. So the products and the application creates new challenges for collaboration between designers, developers, and everybody else involved. That's I'm currently working with, let's say, 15 people daily, which are not only designers, which are every kind of roles
Right.
in
You got
DevTools.
product folks, you got developers, you
Yeah,
got
technical
QA.
writers, yeah,
Yeah.
QAs, absolutely. Well, that was just a history brief of why to have a design system is a great challenge, I would say.
Yes.
And actually, if we want to achieve this distinctiveness and enable the required collaboration, a company needs to have its own design language, right? Or design system, because design language is one of the things, but design system, I
It's
think
the
on the
whole
next
piece.
slide, yeah, the whole back that we have to wear all the day to feel safe and to feel in the right direction, I would say.
Yeah.
So moreover, the need to create a regional design system and to achieve consistency and distinctiveness increases more and more. And this is very interesting that to building and maintain design system with what exists today is extremely expensive. And I would say it's a privilege to very few companies with practically unlimited budgets. That's
Hmm.
very interesting to realize when we start building. We constantly are with lack of capacity or lack of resource, and we are trying to be mm, like a superhero to create this one. So actually, that's going to the next question: what is the design system? So I know that everyone probably knows something or imagined anything, but you can think of every single piece that makes up your product, like layouts, typography, grids, colors, icons, coding conventions, if you wish, and the voice of tone, etc. This is the, as we said before, the bag that we need to carry on all the day uh, to be on the right century, right? I I,
Yes.
I personally cannot imagine my day working here or whatever you want to without any guidelines or any uh, mm, frames to be consistent, to be easy of use. Well,
It's good.
yeah,
Yeah, it
this
means
slide
that.
shows us. Yeah,
Oh
sorry.
no, I was just gonna
The,
say it's great. It means you don't have to start every single time from scratch over again, which I feel like is
right.
often
Yeah, yeah.
what happens when you don't have those rules and you don't have those guidelines. Is someone goes, "Well, what should this text look like?" And then you have to start all the way at the beginning of the design process for every single project. That's hugely expensive in terms of time and effort.
Yeah, and actually, particularly this slide shows us that to have design system is to have two big groups, resources and the guidelines. So we are now having resources like development toolkits, the components of Kendo, React, Angular, Blazor, and so on. But we have some kind of guidelines in terms of JavaScript documentation, but we are now heavily worked on CSS documentation and the style guides to be able to complete the story. uh, and yes, so a few words about the benefits of design system for those who are curious. The design system gives product teams a reusable component-based approach to product development. This is the thing that you said before, and it's quite when you start create a Lego piece of art with your child, for example, after 5 minutes you will understand exactly what I meant.
Yes.
So this approach, yes, this approach help solve problems like problems of scale like inconsistent user experience across products and platforms, managing and tracking different versions and changes made. Why not? And knowledge gap between designers and development. These are kind of new language that we can speak. Each other. And inefficiency of the process who lead to the waste of work, etc., etc. That's the benefits of of having design system actually.
Yeah, I've heard people describe them as like the single source of truth, and I really like that as something that's like, yep, no matter what you're working on, no matter who's working on it, you can always come back to this one place, and we will all be aligned. That's hugely
that's
beneficial.
absolutely true. That's absolutely true, Kathryn. Believe it or not, I don't want to be to remember even the let's say 3 years ago in my job that we were spending hours sending screenshots to developers, and then they have to inspect them by eyedropper tool and let's say Microsoft Paint or someone in Photoshop to ask me on by mail, by chat, what is the right hex, what is the right pagination, what is the right padding. And today we are thankful to have even for internal usage. It was quite good improvement, I believe. Yeah,
definitely.
And we are here to the final question. Why we choose Figma? why Figma actually? Because as I said, I grew up with Adobe products. We have tried InVision, we have tried UX Pin, we have tried Sketch. Axure RP was one of the favorite tool when we building Telerik platform a few years ago. But finally, Figma is beating them all.
It really is.
And I wrote few notes here to not forget. But actually, in terms of pure graphical or drawing capabilities, all of the big four in this screen are quite good. But Figma won the race with all-in-one solution and and of course collaboration story. That's what I meant about the XD before when we start using one project, when we are working on one project, let's say 4 people or 5 or 7, it was nightmare to synchronize and who is owning the file, who have to reshare the uploaded link to developers, where the latest link it was quite messy, and we waste a lot of work.
I think Figma's also got going for it that it's free, at least to start, right? I mean, you pay eventually if you want to do some of the big sharing.
Exactly.
Anybody can make a Figma account and start designing without that barrier, and that's really huge.
Yeah. And the thing that I would say Figma for developers, for example, when your design and your component library aren't aligned, it can be an exhausting experience to try to translate the designer's intentions in your available components. And yes, this align as one source of truth is a very huge difference in a workflow within the company or within the team. Yes, the inspect capabilities, the positions, paddings, metrics, color, typography, etc. It's quite fancy and quite useful for the developers. We are not going to talk about over chat, what's the right hex, and so on and so on.
Thank goodness. Those conversations were always exhausting.
Absolutely. I'll go to the next slide. That I'll try to explain this in a few details. It's quite interesting website. Have you seen it right now?
I can see it. I have never seen this before, so I'm really interested.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah,
This is the great resource that I found before, and it explains a lot because of the
that's awesome.
because of the metrics that are in different part of the world that include different culture that we said before, and different type of experience, different type of expectations, I would say. So I will go to the different categories for the brainstorming. Brainstorming, the Miro is the preferred tool, but Figma is chasing very.
Yeah. With everything they've added to FigJam, I would not be surprised to see them
I also
overtake.
think that the FigJam. I also think that the FigJam will rise the bar higher. So this was brainstorming. So there are going to be user flows. That is one of the, let's say, key area when you are UX designer, not just UI designer. And the Figma is definitely preferred tool. After Miro and Sketch, next this on the fifth. So UI design, pure graphical and drawing capabilities, etc. Again, Figma definitely beats the other. And let's say prototyping, one of my favorite part when we have create a bunch of screens. I really enjoy to play with animations, with some transitions to reproduce the intended behavior. And yes, Figma is definitely here a clear winner. And as we can see in this, sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying it makes perfect sense to go with the tool that has got the most coverage, right? Like when we were looking at that recap from earlier, like out of what there was, I don't know, 5 or 6, maybe more, like 7 different categories, and Figma had all but 2 of them.
Yep.
So.
And this graphic is also very interesting for 3 years. InVision drops dramatically, Figma rise dramatically. Sketch also trying to getting to drop. The XD is quite flattish, but it's still in the low percentage of usage. And for the handoff, of course, one of the things that we are going to talk today, Figma is again a clear winner because all-in-one solution. You don't have to go to the third-party service like Zeppelin or Abstract, which are very well combined with InVision or Sketch. What else? Design systems. our pretty known suspects. Design systems. Figma also is breaking the bars. So I can confirm that creating design system, because we have started with Adobe. We have spent almost 1 year to create 100 components, and finally we scratch this and put to the trash bin and start again with Figma. And yet for user testing expected there is a different tooling. And finally from 8 categories, Figma win 6 of them.
There we go. That's what I was remembering. I'm like trying to come up with.
Yeah, absolutely. Here is one of the 3 also key pillars, less is more, that we said you have to pay 1 service, not 3, 2 or 3 service. And one of them Figma is web-based application. It runs Electron shell, and it's like a browser. And no matter what your machine, Mac or Windows or Linux, it will run quite good. Even iOS and Android on a tablet, you can do some job. And of course, one of my favorite is the team collaboration. And I don't want to let's say to manage these links anymore. I just sent an invitation to our colleagues, and they got access everything that they need in one single click.
And all this is especially important now that we're all working remote, right? Like the
Absolutely.
ability to
Absolutely.
share and have them have access to it forever, the ability to jump around between your work machine, your personal machine, your tablet, like all of those things were nice before and now feel like essential.
Yes, I feel like liberty to work with Figma right now, because we've got some cases that some colleagues in vacation, and someone else go to the Adobe XD file that was shared, and someone else modified them but couldn't update the link, and call by telephone. Oh, please go log in and update. So I don't have a computer with me. So it was the
It's
a few
stressful.
months that very stressful when you have that when you have deadlines. And the last but not least, the Figma community. I would say this place is where every designer can really feel himself as a content creator in terms of design work. And here you can find a lot of UI UX resources, help you to jumpstart your project as a designer, or even if you are a front-end developer, you can just browse some library and drag and drop to sketch something in this Figma community, or even you can monetize your work just on the App Store and Android Play Store.
That is something else I think that really separates Figma is their support for developers and to be able to come in and modify their platform via plugins or via these kind of pre-made UI kits. The fact that anyone can go in and grab them, anyone can modify Figma itself by using plugins and add things to the software, add exports. It's really, they've really focused on the dev experience, and that's rare for design software, and it's awesome.
Totally agree, Kathryn. To finish the slides, the unexhaustive ones, we go to the foundation. The foundation of the design system are the design assets and the UI toolkits. And by the way, what about the Isaac Asimov books and the spectacular science fiction movie nowadays? Have you seen or have you read the books, Foundation trilogy?
I haven't, but now I feel like I need to. I know we literally we started doing on Fridays like a sci-fi fantasy Friday, like just a fun stream, mostly because this kept happening in my normal streams where we would just start talking about books or we would start talking about TV shows or whatever. And the social media team was like, if we give you your own show to just talk about geek stuff, can you not do it during other shows? And I was like, no promises. I'm going to talk about this forever. You can't stop me. But no, what it's mostly done is shown me that it's like tripled my reading list.
This is not a classic. This is a brilliant and iconic book that I intentionally took the screenshot from the movie because, and by the way, movie is not right good as the book is, but
they never are
expected. It's expected behavior. so one few slides just quick to explain that in which manner and how we create our design assets. We follow this atomic model defined by Brad Frost. So for those of the folk that are not familiar, we start from the building blocks, like Lego smallest pieces, such as label, input, and button. And when we combine them together, we create the molecules on, let's say, small components. And after that, after the magic, we combine them and create organisms, or let's say the middle of the size of the components, like complexity. And after that, we are now have a few templates, but in separate file that we are in develop process, and later on we will publish another file with the templates. And after that, hopefully we will have full-blown pages or completely vertical template stories to be able to help our customers to jumpstart and to don't rethink or develop the wheel or the hot water.
Yep. And that's been a very popular design methodology. That's, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember when atomic design came out, and it was a while ago, and it's been popular and stayed popular. Pretty much everywhere I've been now works on an atomic design basis. So we're really meeting people where they are when we're using this approach as well.
Definitely, yeah. When I first heard about this, I don't remember which year it was, but I firstly thought about what the heck is that? Is it one like a science fiction, or what the atomic
Right.
what the atomic could be in the design actually? But now it perfectly makes sense when you create such a system, such a library, to start
Right.
from the building blocks and then to nest it and nest it and nest it and nest it like a snowball, yeah, and
Yeah.
to create something like a page or template.
It makes perfect sense, and it means you've got this just really inherent consistency that you don't have to work at, you know, that like I've heard it referred to as like building with Lego blocks, and it's like, yeah, that's exactly it. You got your Legos, you know exactly how they click together and what you can build with them, and you can use the same ones to make this set or that set, you know, the car or the rocket ship.
Actually, this is the fastest and the most understandable explanation for everyone on the planet, Lego. Even for my child, which is on 7, the Lego, and if I want to explain him what I do all the day on the job, and I will explain with the Lego, I think that this is the right thing. Yeah. And this is the last slide, by the way, who gives you an idea what we have today. So we have the latest version 1.9.1, over the more than 100 components in 3 different teams that we supported from the beginning. Kendo Original, we call it Kendo Default, Bootstrap design language and material, and we now currently working on Microsoft Fluent design language, and it will coming soon later this year, I believe. We have more than 4K downloads, or if we were correct, duplicates from the Figma community, and we are very proud that we developed 2 plugins in Figma community. One from one of them is for Unite UX that you will going to talk next Monday with Rado. Yep. And we will see how this plugin works through the Figma, going to the Unite UX web app. And the other plugin we create to help us to migrate old files to the new one, or anyone else needs to relink many instances at scale. Or let's say you have to create, when you copy and paste something on Figma from one file to another, Figma create an instance. But let's say for on the destination files, you maybe have some masters that you need to relink them at scale, not one by one through the swap instance menu. It will take you a days or a months to reswap everything. And through this plugin, we are proud to achieve this.
Yeah, the thing I thought was really cool about the relinker is that is when, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard that was one that we built basically just to solve a problem that we were running into while we were trying to build these Figma kits. That's something that we were frustrated by, but because Figma allows you to publish these plugins, we were able to solve that problem, not just internally, but for anybody else doing anything similar.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, we've got some comments or thoughts about any other customers which are not definitely Kendo customers. So the designers are loved with this plugin. It's constantly work in progress. We have a developer who address bug fixes and new features within the plugin. And yes, progress is now at the design field. Yes, and here we go. We are going to have a demo, and I'll share. Stop sharing this PowerPoint. I'm going to open Figma right here.
I'm throwing the links for the relinker and the Unite UX plugin in the chat for anyone who is interested in checking those out.
Great. Thank you.
Before we dig into the demo, I don't think we've actually done a really good definition of what a Figma kit or what a UI kit is. So just to really start from total scratch.
Okay, I will go first to the community page, and we'll show you. This is the duplication that I did yesterday. But I'll go to the community. Kendo. So have in mind that these two guys are our clients, that they are republished our kits, and stick to the progress one. we will investigate what are they play here, but let's say Kendo for Bootstrap. So this is an essential toolkit of design assets library, representing all of the Kendo UI components. And even within Figma community, you can navigate through the pages of the document. It's one big design document created in Figma, and when you duplicate it, you will got this one. I just intentionally rename it to not mess with other libraries. So we have getting started, a few sentences for everyone who don't know anything and how to use it, and just if you follow this Hansel and Gretel breadcrumbs, you will be fine. We also have table of contents because the file is, let's say, huge.
The files are really big.
Yes, we hit a couple of times memory issues with memory limitation of the browser engine and so on. So we constantly improve the layers of the components and so on. And here is in this page, this is the real stuff here, UI components. And this is all of the Kendo components grouped by some, let's say, Kendo React-based groups, logical groups. But other than wise, they are completely the same through the different Kendo flavors. So in essential, Kendo UI Kits, our Telerik Kendo UI Kits, because we have Blazor and ASP.NET.Core, are a bunch of components like a library, like a Lego box, like a master Lego box, as I would say. And when you want to create something as a web page or web application or web something that you will use web technology to code it, and eventually if you have both Kendo package, this UI kit will help you to design one-to-one on the pixel perfect manner your application without hesitating and without bothering how the drop-down menu is look like. You don't want to go every time to React Kendo to Kendo React website and to see how these or those components looks like. Oh, this is like a library, a source of truth. And of course, we have UI components and data visualization. Our charts, as they are shipped like different package, but they are also a useful part when you want to create a prototype.
Yeah.
We have also and icons. So we shipped Kendo web component icon font, and here they are SVG objects.
Yeah, if you can zoom in like super close on those so that we can make sure
Yeah, yeah,
everyone
yeah.
can see them.
Yeah. They are
Yeah.
pixel perfect and they can be
Nice.
easily swapped. I will show in a minute how you can swap your icon or how to use let's say basic components, because the complex ones are let's say hardly to explain because I need some business case to follow.
Yeah.
When I compose, let's say grid, I would show demo with the basic grid, but to be able to see the full power of this component, you have to have some business scenario to represent.
Mhm.
And yeah, in pretty much we have and let's say a style guideline with the typography, colors that we use, where in these components are they used, and their design token name, because this is very important that this design token, let's say for primary color, primary is exactly the same in the coded components, in the real components
Yeah.
at all.
I think this is probably my favorite part. Not to like pick and
Yeah,
choose favorites, but this part to me is so cool where each and every one of the like design tokens is broken down. First, because I think it's a really good like launching point for people that don't have a design system yet to kind of go through. This is almost like a step-by-step way to be like, here's everything you need to think about when you're making a design system. So it's really good kind
absolutely.
of launching point that way.
It,
And then, like you mentioned, all of these, the design token names equate perfectly to the SAS variables over in the components. And that eliminates so much of that back and forth between the designer and the developer. Like it feels like such a simple thing, but naming is so hard. Like it's become kind of a
it,
joke how hard it is to name stuff in design and in programming.
absolutely.
But
Yeah, it's ways better to choose from predefined styles
yeah.
instead of every time you have to pick different or to copy and hex from one part to the other. And we have, and when you have these things, I I admit that they are a lot because of our components are quite complex and quite a huge number
Yeah,
as a
but
count. But yes, everything is worth it when you try to use it. And here, when you spoke when you speak how to use this monster, the greatest solution is when you duplicate it, to publish it like a library. And then when you open a brand new file, and in this assets panel, in this icon here, libraries, you have to enable this
mm,
library. For example, this is the libraries that I have access to, within our account. And yes, I for the purpose of this demo, I enabled this one, just
mhm.
shorten the name to not mess with the others, because the
Right,
Figma
with your real
model,
ones.
yeah,
Yeah.
Figma models are not resizable. This is one of my complaints. But anyway, so this example for, let's say, login or sign up page, I've done for 5 or 10 minutes, and everyone, I believe, could do this maybe
Yeah.
for 15 minutes, but it will
Yeah.
be it will be it will be a little joy and a pure pleasure to work with the components. And if you wish, I could try. I would try to represent this one. How do I build it?
Yeah.
And of course, first when we talk about Figma, it's not artboards, but there is a frames. Frame is like a Swiss Army knife in Figma. It's not just an artboard like solution or paperwork to drawing something, but it's a container who can nest and renest many levels of components. So for the purpose of this design, I will start when I click and start using frame tool. I have suggestions for pre-built, I would say another desktop dimension, like a form factor. I'll go to, sorry, to find this folder with some images, and I'll drop here some images, some image, and I will frame this image another time, just because I want to set these constraints here. They are like magic. So when I go back to the layers, this layer pane is just like any other drawing application, like Illustrator, Photoshop, whatever you want. And I'll just resize this one, and on frame we'll set clip content, and that's it. It's just a kind of clipping mask if you are used to work with clipping mask with other tools. So I have to manage only this frame here to be able to rearrange and to lay out my design. And now we will go to the UI components that we already linked the library from the original duplicated file.
Right. And
This
so
is the
because you added that library, you now have access to everything that was
yeah
in the
yeah
Kendo library in this other
yeah
file that
the
you're designing, right? Components, all the design tokens.
yeah there
Yeah.
are this library is up to Figma Cloud, and when you create new file, let's say new design file, not jump file. And when you go to assets and libraries, you will see all the shared libraries within your organization, right?
Right. And so all you have to
Some
do is turn it
some
on,
of
right?
yeah, some of them are turned on by default. I will investigate why, but just for the purpose, that's why I shortened the name. And yes, I will enable this library, and boom, I've got UI components, icons, and data viz.
So nice.
Because of this underscore here, they are not published in the library. Change walk, styles, table of contents, getting started, etc., etc. They are not need. You don't
Right.
need when you consume the library through the cloud, right? So I will go ahead, and I'll go to UI components, and let's say trying to find some button. I'll drag and drop some button here, and input. We have date input or filter item. I'll drag like this. So you see the difference, the final design, and here. And I just want to show you one of the power of our components, that when you drag and drop input, for example, and I'll just say label on. Done. I have label on. And when I go to this is the instance. These icons means that this element is instance from the master components, and it's based on a base input. This is the original father of these elements. I'll just will hide hint text. I don't want in my design to have hint text. I will duplicate, and I'll combine them in auto layout frame. Another frame with auto layout with this flexible margin here. I would say, let's say 32 sounds pretty straightforward. And Let me see the design. I'll try to rename in the fast way password. Sorry, password and username.
I so wish this had been a thing back when I was doing design work for other companies, because like the ability to just import the library that they're already using and not try to like visually match some third-party library that you don't have the source to.
Yeah. And the very interesting part is when you the next Monday talk to Radu, and when you see how these changes here are completely reusable after export through the Unite UX, and you can even modify hugely these components, and they are still backend components. That is the real magic. So after I want to resize this button, and I also have had and ask why these buttons are don't resizable. No, they are resizable because you have to go. You have to drill down one layer, one level inside, and you said fill container, right? The fill and the hook containers are one of the foundation technique within the Figma, and once you used to use it, and everything's be fine.
Ultimately, that's better because then as you move the container, it'll just autofill and auto center and everything that you want it to do.
I will rename this button to sign in, and I will change this button because these are variants. I will show you. This icon explain me that this element is not local file. This is from the original library, and this is from this master variant for our buttons. And go back, and I will change to be so. I will keep this solid, and I'll go to primary one to be more. Or let's say to be outline, to be a little bit lighter. And I would like to create another auto layout within all these selected, and to say let's 32 outline padding, and for every one of these components to say fill container, and then oh, sorry, I have to go one.
That's how they get you. It's always one more layer.
To the input, because this is another nested elements. It should be fill container.
I will say, as an incredibly lazy designer and developer, that's the other thing that's very nice, is that this sets up my layers for me. And if I am responsible for setting up my own layers, they will all just be like rectangle 5. And it's, as soon as I go to hand that design file off to someone else, they're like, what is this? What does this do? Where is this?
Look at that. Look at that how it works.
That's so easy.
And when I say this to be scale, and this image to be scale, and this image inside to be scale and scale.
Can you believe we used to do this all manually in Photoshop?
Look at this. Look at this. Look at this behavior when you have to go to the tablet, even to mobile, just hide this image.
It's so much easier.
The way we are working here as a designer is quite different, and as soon as you used to learn how to use auto layout and constraints, you will save a lot of work to be able to create such a thing. Or I'll prepare one more example of a grid layout that I just drag and drop an up bar and a grid, and within this grid I will I changed some elements just through the instance swapping menu to have these different elements here, right? So and when I set this when I want to this drawer to be expanded, I will just go to the instance swap menu, and our components have many versions of their rendering, and boom, just like this, it expands, it will push the other elements, and we still have this layout responsive.
The thing that I love about this the most, I think, is that it allows designers to actually focus on the part that is hard, the actual problem, the designing of the page.
Yes.
When so much of the time is spent, and I mean, like, developers feel the same thing, right? It's like saying, like, what if you got to completely skip running npm installs? What if you had to completely skip, you know?
Yeah, you save the pre-work. You have pre-baked components, and they are pretty much in every way resizable or controllable. Not in every way, but pretty much. You have to go through the few settings, and they're fine.
Kendo is opinionated in some ways, but I've always found it to be really flexible and incredibly themable, right? Like, I've never had any trouble making Kendo components look like whatever I want them to look like, which is sometimes completely unrecognizable as Kendo. And to be able
do we have time for about 5 minutes to show you another great example, because this was quite let's say childish, or
we can go as long as you want to go. We got no time limits here. That's the best part of streaming. They'll just let us do this as long as we want.
Just a few minutes to show you the project that I'm working on last week.
Yeah,
it was Visual Studio Code extension. So how is supposed to be done this extension? There are a few screens like wizard, but how if I don't have Microsoft Visual Studio Code guidelines or their documents? They have kits for Figma, Visual Studio Code Toolkit, and I honestly, it took me not much for, but about 1 or 2 days to create all of these things with using these pre-baked elements. And here is the result. We have wizards-like style extension with Microsoft's metrics, with Microsoft's design paradigms, and so on and so on. And this is the latest one, the Telerik UI scaffolding tool. This is even prototype one. This is just like PowerPoint slides. Go here, go there, but it saved me a lot of headache to figure out how and what should I achieve, and when I hit play, and all of the developers that are working on the implementation of these tasks were just fine. They don't ask me anything. we don't exchange 100 screenshots. How is supposed to work this element, or this one, or this one? This is quite easy to be built with this toolkit. I'm showing this because this was a real example, a real business case, how we achieve these things.
Right. I mean, with those two things combined, you could even, if you were doing like customer-facing applications, you could do user testing. You could run everything through before anyone even writes a single line of code. And you'll know that when they do, it's still going to look identical because you've used the UI kit that matches one-to-one with the code that the developers are using.
Yeah,
like that.
this is the great benefit. Actually, it's not even comparable to other solutions.
Yeah.
What about this new feature? It's new, but it's just, for a few months ago. This is an audio conversation within the Figma. You don't have to use Teams or whatever you want, and other applications to communicate with your peers, which are displayed here. And a lot of cursors are moving on the screen. And this way of work is both beneficial for designers and for developers, because I see that many of the times developers work from home or on the other floor at the office, and we are working simultaneously, just like with no stress and no.
It is super handy. So just to like clarify, if I was a developer coming into a Figma file, so I hadn't necessarily created it, it was getting handed to me, what are the things that I would want to look for to make the best use of?
Yes. Thank you for this question, because I forgot to mention one of these very important tab here. So my account is for editor, and I got design and prototype. But when you are viewer, the most of the developers are with viewer permission in our team, because it's free and it just works from for them. So
Right.
you will have just inspect pane plus export just like this export here, This is my monitor's camera, just to export whatever you want, whatever you have selected to export as PNG, SVG, JPEG, PDF, to be to fill your needs when you implement. And when you have inspector, when you inspect something, you have to select element on the canvas, and you will be able to see these layers here, and you'll be able also to drill down to the last element visually, or just here when you click, and you will see all of the necessary CSS code. And sometimes you have to go to the table view to see more information in some constraints or some animation timing or etc. So these two tabs are very important when you are a developer, and when you select something and hover the next element, you will see the metrics or the styles. Of course, the style is represented by CSS or Android, iOS Swift, or Android. What was the Android?
Oh gosh, I haven't done any Android development, so I genuinely don't know.
Android semantic and semantic friendly code. But this is the most. This is the web and mobile needs when you are a developer. And actually, this tab is completely enough to understand, let's say, this demo here. And I'll go to inspect, and I'll have to say, okay, this element here is nested, and it's the positions and the width and height, and CSS for or this button. This button here has these design tokens. The border is 1 pixel. The hex, RGB, CSS, HL, HSB. This is pretty much everything you will need to implement these two inputs and three icons.
So we got a question in the chat, which is not like 100% related to Figma Kits, but I did think it was a really interesting question. So I wanted to throw it up on the screen. It says, hello, Kathryn, Tianko. I've been working with Figma for the last 2 years. I've never found a good solution for translations. Working in multiple languages most of the time.
I got it.
Changes a lot. I imagine this is something that you've dealt with since we have offices in Bulgaria and India and the US.
I've got it. Actually, yeah, we did our prototypes in English basically, but when we have to localize, we often use our search for some plugins. Figma is known about plugins. There is a great built-in functionality, but when you use, I will show you my set of plugins. It's a huge set of plugins that sometimes I used every day. Some of them I used every day, but some of them are just for experiment. And I'm pretty sure that there is a plugin who will translate within the Figma, and if you use auto layout container, it will extend your, let's say, German words with 26 letters instead of 6. But yes, I have no experience in this area, but I believe there are plugins.
That is a good suggestion. I years ago worked at a company that was international, and we always had the biggest problems going back and forth. We had to export the application in German, which, as you mentioned, is notoriously incredibly long. But also things like Chinese and Japanese, which are opposite, incredibly short, condensed. I wish there had been plugins and stuff. This was pre like autofit on Figma. So a lot of the time we were kind of tackling it from a more like general kind of way in terms of thinking really flexibly about designs. I kind of started to think of it as like designing responsively, but turned up to like 11, in the same way that you think about how the screen will shift and be larger and smaller. If you make the same kind of mental adjustments to thinking about the layout of the text on your page and how it will wrap and how it will flow, and never setting anything in absolute values.
That's the key. That's the key when you design something international with an international purpose, right?
That was it's maybe not as like technical a tip, but that was the design approach that at least for me made it doable. So hope that helps, Breno. And thanks for throwing us a question. Thanks for hanging out in the chat with us. But I think we have gotten through most of what we planned to do today. Was there anything else that you wanted to take a look at or demo before we sign out?
I'm afraid not, because when we are going deeply and deeply with it within the demo, I think it will be going to be midnight. But yes, Figma is very, very playful and very enjoyable software, and our UI kits are one of the greatest one if you are Kendo user on the first place. When you have these paid components, and there is nothing better than your designer to have our kits as a complement to create the design that they need to implement. It will shorten the time.
That was genuinely something that kind of sold me on joining the Kendo team. Because before I was on the team here, I worked at a couple different places, and mostly I had gotten into this niche where I would come to a company and help them start their own component library, and we would build everything from scratch, and we would work really closely. And I kind of managed that design developer collaboration, and we rolled our own. And a lot of that was because I was so frustrated dealing with these other third-party libraries, because a lot of times a developer will choose the component library that they want to use, and then that's just what it is, and the designer's kind of stuck like working around or trying to deal with whatever restrictions of this library. But Kendo was really different, and it felt good, different, that they prioritized the designer experience as well as the developer experience. And it was part of what kind of sold me on joining a company that made third-party component libraries after I was so like strictly and fiercely on like team roll your own for so long. But
Absolutely.
it makes a huge difference, like genuinely.
Yeah. By the way, and finally, I would like to show this example on the Kendo React overview page. This is
It's
the great
almost,
example that we created last year, if I remember correctly. So
yeah.
at the left part, this is the real application. It's a real in every way. It's clickable. It's a real application.
Mm-hmm.
And on the right, let me refresh it. Something I found like a book. So with this slider, we have trying to show to our customers that when we start using Figma, we have only 20 or 30 components on their cloud. So this one was one of the first example that we create, and I personally create. So this is again the real application, and this is the Figma file on the
Mm-hmm.
right side. So this file I will show you how it looks like to ensure you.
I always joke with people that it's like almost too good of a demonstration because you can't see that anything's happening when you move that slider back and forth. It is so
This
perfect.
slider is kind of
It almost looks fake, but
yeah, but now we will see that it's not fake. That
it is
this
not.
is the design. This is the design in Figma that we
It's
create
amazing.
just for the purpose of this demo on the website, and this is the result. There is a few pixels somewhere,
Right. You
maybe
can
of
see
the
it, you
rendering
can
of
see the
the
text
version of
occasionally.
browsers here. Yeah,
But
and
yeah,
this is very excited when you see it for the first time.
it's amazing.
How this design could be absolutely the same using the same components like a drawer, like a button groups, inputs, some charts, some data grids with the pagers and so on.
Yeah.
So this design is was made for about I don't know, 1 day or 2 days maximum.
Which is so fast for something
Just
that
drag and drop
complicated.
and
Yeah.
some really small touches.
Yeah. And as you mentioned, this time, or I guess, I'll have to check with Alyssa and see what time they're going on next week. I think it'll be the same time, noon on Monday next week. She will be back on with her friend Rado, and he's going to talk through taking all of this from Figma into our software Unite UX, and then using their comparison tool, and then moving that from Unite UX. There's an export tool there that will put out actual code that you can just put directly into your application, and it is dang near plug and play. Like, it's amazing.
I think that honestly, the next Monday will be more interested for developers than this
For
one. But
developers.
yeah, the developers.
For developers maybe, but I think it's good to get the whole picture. And I think that when you're evaluating a library, it shouldn't just be the developers that you're keeping in mind, right? And like what you showed, how fast it was to throw together stuff today, to lay out whole pages, whole elements, the way you can just import the whole library and know that whatever you're designing is immediately gonna be possible and doable and sync up perfectly with what the developers have available to them. It is huge, seriously.
Yeah, Unite UX is a great solution. I'm thinking of it like a team builder of with the superpower, with the superhero power team builder, which you can tweak every single aspect of some component and still be Kendo UI components.
Yep. it's got all of the behavior and the like dev side customization that the developers want. And then with these Figma kits, we're able to offer that same level of kind of customization and involvement on the design side, which is something that I love. So yeah. I think I'd already asked if there's anything else you wanted to show, so I won't ask you again. I'll just say thank you. This was really, really cool.
Thank you too, Kathryn. Thank you for having me in this session. I really enjoyed, and I hope it will help also someone to find the need and to find the way how to use not only our kit but every other out there. Should be useful.
Definitely. All right. Well, folks, this has been another episode of UI Mondays. As I mentioned, come back next Monday. We'll be taking a look at taking stuff from this Figma file into Unite UX. And then the Monday after that, we'll be having a really excellent talk with Jake Alba, who is the developer advocate over at Figma. He can give us a kind of insider's look at what's happening over there, the way they're focusing on the developer experience, and what developers can look forward to and what they can expect and how they can best leverage Figma as a tool. So I hope we will see you again in the next couple weeks. In between then, I hope you have a great week. Let's talk soon. See you guys.
Bye.